So let's jump right in. The first insight, according to these transcripts, is all about becoming more aware of the coincidences in your life.
You know those moments where things just seem to line up perfectly?
Like you're in the right place at the right time, meeting the right person, and it feels like more than just random chance.
The source material describes these as having a sense of destiny, like you're being guided. And it definitely adds a bit of mystery and excitement to life.
And the more you notice these synchronicities, the more you might start to feel like you're on the right track. Like you're connected to something bigger.
It's a bit like getting a little wink from the universe saying, you're getting warmer,
And the interesting thing is, according to these transcripts, people are experiencing these kinds of coincidences more and more frequently.
which makes you wonder why that might be.
Well, the source connects it to this growing feeling of restlessness that many people are experiencing today. Like there's something more out there, a deeper purpose, a more fulfilling way to live, and we're just not quite there yet.
Like we've climbed to the top of one mountain, and now we're scanning the horizon for the next challenge.
Exactly. So, this first insight is about opening your eyes to those seemingly random events and seeing if maybe, just maybe, they're trying to tell you something.
Trusting your intuition, those little hunches and gut feelings, can be a huge part of that too.
Now, the second insight shifts gears a bit, talking about what it calls a more correct interpretation of recent history. But don't worry, this isn't about memorizing dates or anything like that.
Right. It's not about the facts and figures. It's about the bigger picture of how our way of thinking has evolved over time. It's like looking at the story behind the story.
And the idea here is that instead of focusing on just the technological advances or the big political events, we need to understand the underlying mindset, the worldview of different periods in history. Like, what were people feeling and thinking, and how did that shape the world?
Because ultimately, those thoughts and beliefs are what drive everything else.
Exactly. And the narrative suggests that for a long time now, Western thought has been dominated by this focus on economic progress, building a stable and secure material world. It's been all about getting comfortable, creating that sense of safety and abundance.
Which, to be fair, makes sense. For centuries, survival was a much more immediate concern for most people.
Right. But the interesting thing is the source argues that this 400-year obsession with material security might be reaching a natural conclusion. We've achieved a level of comfort and abundance that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors, at least in many parts of the world.
But now we're also seeing the unintended consequences of that pursuit, like the environmental challenges we face.
So the source proposes that this completion of one historical arc, this achievement of material security, is opening up space for something new, a readiness to ask deeper questions about our purpose beyond just accumulating stuff.
Because when you've got the basics covered, the next question is, okay, now what?
And maybe, just maybe, that feeling of restlessness so many of us have is a sign that we're ready to answer that question, to explore a more meaningful way of being in the world.
And that's where these insights really start to get intriguing.
All right, so for the third insight, we zoom in from the big picture of history to something much more personal. The idea that the universe is fundamentally made of energy, and that we as humans can actually influence things around us with our own energy.
This might sound a little out there at first, but stick with me. The source starts with an example that's pretty grounded. Plants.
Yeah, they talk about research showing that plants that receive direct human attention, like someone caring for them, talking to them, really focusing on them, were actually more nutritionally potent than those that didn't.
Which suggests that there's some kind of energetic exchange happening between living things, something that goes beyond just a physical realm.
Right, and this expands to the idea that each of us has an energy field surrounding our body, and this field can be influenced by our thoughts and emotions.
They even use the example of sexual attraction, that feeling of being drawn to someone as a manifestation of this energy field.
Yeah, like there's an energetic component to that chemistry, that spark that we can feel but can't really see.
Exactly. Now, the source goes on to describe an experiment involving energy projections onto corn plants. Basically, people focus their energy with the intention of helping the plants grow faster and stronger.
And while the person telling the story in the transcript couldn't see this energy directly, the point they're making is that there's this whole level of reality that we don't always perceive with our physical senses.
like there's a hidden dimension operating beneath the surface.
They even bring up the concept of chi energy in martial arts and how martial artists can do seemingly impossible feats of strength and agility.
Which suggests that there's a potential within us that we're not fully tapping into.
It's like we're only using a small fraction of our true power.
Right, and then the focus shifts to how this energy dynamic plays out between people, particularly during arguments.
Because have you ever noticed how sometimes during a heated argument, the energy in the room feels different?
Like there's this tension, almost a crackling in the air.
And the source suggests that this is because people are unconsciously trying to control and dominate each other in order to gain energy.
Which leads us to the fourth insight, this human tendency toward power struggles, and how we often try to get energy from others by controlling them.
But here's the thing. When you dominate someone else, it might give you a temporary feeling of power, but it actually drains energy from the person you're dominating.
It's like an energy vampire situation.
Exactly. The source even gives the example of physical domination, like in a fight, and how that can actually make it harder to think clearly.
Because your energy is being siphoned away.
So the next time you're in a situation where you feel drained or diminished, it's worth considering whether there's an energy dynamic at play.
Especially in relationships, where those patterns can become really ingrained.
Now, for a more hopeful perspective, we move on to the fifth insight, which is all about intuition and guidance.
And the idea that those chance encounters and lucky breaks might actually have a deeper meaning.
Like you're being nudged in the right direction by something beyond your conscious awareness.
And the source suggests that when you align yourself with this flow of energy, when you follow those intuitive nudges, you become more actualized, more fully yourself, and you actually gain energy in the process.
It's like you're riding a wave instead of fighting against the current.
But of course, fear can mess with this flow, making you doubt yourself, hesitate, and miss opportunities.
And that can lead to feeling stuck, depleted, and unsure of which way to go.
But even when you experience those dips in energy because of fear, the source makes an interesting point. The energetic level you reached before that dip represents a new baseline.
Like you've expanded your capacity even if you temporarily fall back.
Exactly. And the overall message here is that humanity is on a journey of evolution, moving toward a higher level of consciousness, a higher vibration, even if we're not always aware of it.
And the narrative in these transcripts is all about making that evolutionary process conscious so we can participate more actively in our own growth and development.
It's like going from autopilot to taking the wheel.
Now, this whole idea of unconsciously manipulating others for energy gets really unpacked with the sixth insight and the introduction of controlled dramas.
These are the unconscious, almost habitual ways that people try to get energy from others without even realizing they're doing it.
It's not necessarily malicious, it's more like a subconscious strategy that we develop to try and meet our needs.
Right, and the source outlines several different types of control dramas. First, there's the aloof or mysterious type. This is the person who withdraws emotionally, creating a sense of mystery and making others curious.
And that curiosity leads people to put energy into trying to figure them out, trying to get closer. It's the classic playing hard to get routine.
Then you have the poor me drama, where someone constantly plays a victim, seeking sympathy and attention.
They might complain a lot, talk about how unfair life is, and it draws people in, making them want to help and offer support.
And the support, of course, is energy.
Next up is the interrogator. This is the person who loves to find fault and criticize others, making them feel self-conscious and insecure.
It's like they get a little boost of energy by putting others down.
And finally, there's the intimidator, who uses aggression, whether it's overt or subtle, to dominate others and make them feel small.
That fear and submission is what feeds their energy.
So the source really encourages listeners to take a look at their own lives and see if they might be playing out any of these control dramas, even unconsciously.
Because awareness is the first step to breaking free from those patterns.
And the interesting thing is, the source suggests that these dramas often stem from childhood experiences and unmet emotional needs.
Like if you didn't get enough attention or validation as a child, you might develop a control drama to try and get those needs met as an adult.
They also talk about the idea of integrating different aspects of ourselves, like the masculine and feminine energies that exist within each of us, and how that integration can help us move beyond these dramas.
It's about becoming whole and complete within ourselves, so we don't need to seek that fulfillment through controlling others.
And a really powerful way to help others release their control dramas is to send them energy and appreciation.
Not in a manipulative way, but with genuine kindness and support.
Because that can help them feel seen and valued for who they truly are without needing to play those games anymore.
Exactly. Now, moving on to the eighth insight, we shift the focus to interpersonal ethics and something called addiction to energy.
And this insight suggests that the way you interact with others has a direct impact on your own personal evolution, on how quickly you learn and grow.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and our actions have energetic consequences.
The source emphasizes the importance of consciously projecting positive energy toward others with the genuine intention of helping them see their own truth and potential.
Not to control or manipulate, but to empower and uplift.
They also talk about the idea of addiction in relationships. This is where you might unconsciously give energy to someone, maybe because you're attracted to them or want to please them.
But then an expectation develops that they'll reciprocate that energy in the same way. And when they don't, it can lead to resentment, power struggles, and those control dramas we talked about earlier.
It's like you're trying to get something from the relationship that you're not giving to yourself.
And the source suggests that this often stems from not fully integrating the opposite sex aspect within ourselves.
Like if you haven't fully embraced your own masculine or feminine qualities, you might project those qualities onto a partner and become overly dependent on them to feel whole.
And that's why they highlight the importance of platonic relationships with the opposite sex, because those relationships can help you break down those projections and connect with a more balanced and universal energy.
It's about seeing people as individuals rather than trying to fit them into your own idealized image.
And the source even cautions against falling for love at first sight, because that intense initial attraction might just be a projection of your own unmet needs.
It's about finding relationships that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and a healthy flow of energy.
And when you're in a group or a relationship where everyone understands how to give and receive energy consciously, it creates a truly uplifting and transformative dynamic.
All right, now for the ninth insight, we're getting into some really intriguing territory.
This is where things get a little more mysterious. Even the source material acknowledges that this insight is the least fully developed.
But the basic idea seems to be that as humanity evolves and raises its vibrational frequency, individuals might eventually become invisible to those who are still operating at a lower vibration.
Now, this isn't about literally disappearing. It's more about shifting out of the range of perception of those who aren't on the same wavelength.
It's like tuning into a different radio frequency. You can't pick up the signals that aren't on that same frequency.
Exactly. And the source describes this as a kind of rapture, but not the kind you might hear about in some religious contexts.
This rapture is about evolving to a higher level of consciousness, and it's not going to happen until fear is largely overcome on a collective level.
It's about reaching a critical mass of people who are vibrating at a high enough frequency.
So this ninth insight is less about specific steps you can take and more about the potential destination of this whole evolutionary journey.
It paints a picture of a future where humanity lives in harmony with nature, where technology serves our needs rather than controlling us, where intuition is our primary guide, and our focus is on continued growth and understanding.
It's a pretty inspiring vision of what's possible if we choose to consciously evolve.
Definitely food for thought.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, exploring these 9 interconnected insights into personal and collective evolution. We've talked about the power of awareness, the hidden dimensions of energy, the challenges of control dramas, and the potential for a truly transformative future.
Hopefully this has sparked some new ideas and maybe even a few aha moments for you.
And if anything resonated with you, we encourage you to explore it further, to see how these insights might apply to your own life and your own journey of growth.
Because ultimately, it's up to each of us to choose the direction of our own evolution.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. Considering all these insights we've discussed today, what's one small shift you can make in your own awareness or in your interactions with others that could have a ripple effect, creating positive change in your own life and in the world around you? Something to ponder as you go about your day.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning and keep evolving.